Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Happy summer. I hope that you are doing everything you need to do to wrap up this summer time to relax and sit back and reflect and see what, maybe what trajectory you want to go into the next school year. If that's, if you're an educator, administrator, or, maybe you're a parent or guardian. And so you're in the muck and mire of all of this back to school prep. I'm sure many of you have been doing your school shopping, looking at your school supply list. I know my kiddos have been getting, notifications of open house. And also, they've been trying out for teams and trying out for different extracurricular activities. And I'm super happy that we just found out my son's making the football team. So that's pretty cool. Yay to him. So I'm going to be a football mom. I'm going to really have to have grit throughout the school year to see how we can balance all of this, but I'm really excited. And my daughter is entering into high school, so I'm super excited about that chapter and all of the thrill that's going to come with that. So just a little bit about me, and I hope that you guys are just really enjoying where life has you right now, and that you're able to really cultivate grit in whatever capacity you need to. Now, let's get started with our show. First things first, I do want to make some announcements for you. The Grit and Equity Talks podcast, it will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and you can find it on social media outlets and also on Spotify, okay? I also wanted to talk about my social media. Please follow me when you get a chance. I've had these handles for several years. For those of you that have been with me over the years, I've had these handles probably a good 10 plus years. And through all of my different phases, you guys have been wonderful. Thank you. But eventually I will change these. And if anybody out there, can help me with this, I would greatly appreciate it. But my Facebook handle is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. And I also wanted to encourage you to please check out my website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for your next speaking or coaching event. Speaking of books, I'm happy to announce I'm very honored for the tribe that I have now reached another milestone. I have been able to now compile 60 books. I'm very thankful. That's not including any textbooks, just 60 individual works. And I'm very honored for my team. I give glory to the Almighty for his strength and helping me with that. And to the tribe, to those that have always been there for me and those that have, told me to keep going when I was tired or, when I was, full of anxiety. Thank you to those. I do want to encourage you, if you're wanting to write a book or whatever, reach out to me. Maybe I can help you. But I also think that, we're just in a day and age now where, you've got to continue to evolve in your purpose, in who you are. All of us have a specific, unique purpose. Don't let anyone stop you from fulfilling that purpose. Now, I do want to also remind you guys of the Grit Mini Workshop that you can find on the Grassroots Workshops website. And in addition to that, I wanted to remind you guys of the upcoming events that I have. I will be training at the end of the month, Minnesota School District. Super excited to be there with you guys in Minnesota. We're going to talk about grit and we're going to have a good time. We're going to really dig deep into the grit framework and all of the pillars of that framework and talk about that great resilience in time and what that means and what that looks like. I can't wait to see you guys. So if you guys are watching this podcast, just know I have much love in my heart for you. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to dive into it with you. And thank you so much to all of the leaders for this opportunity. I wanted to remind you guys of this podcast and what we do here. So if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues, so your ears might perk up because you're, preparing for the new year, or you're trying, your students just aren't motivated to do the work, then this is the podcast for you. If you're a principal, teacher, district leader, I want to just, go there with you and just really do some digging and look at some different things. So what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about how we can, in this episode, get gritty for the new school year. So, since we are talking about grit, we're talking about the new school year. The one thing you need is motivation. And, I just talking from my heart, and I'm going to, show you guys some things, and giving people respect on their rights and those that, their videos and stuff. I don't own any of their copyrights or anything like that. So, I want to give them a shout out and honor before I even get into that. But when you're talking about getting ready for the new school year, there's so much with this because you have to remember, everyone listening, students have been sleeping in till 2 p.m. if they're in middle school and high school. Until maybe now because they're doing practice, right? Sports practice, band practice. I think my daughter might play the band. That would be really neat. But anyways, so they have all of these things going on, and their grit levels are going to be low because they've been removed from school. Some have done STEM camps, swimming, all this, cool stuff. But for the most part, homework and all this, unless, they were in after school, summer school, then they'll be more perky because they've been in it. But at the same time, those students might also be experience a little bit of burnout, depending on how hard they were pushed to pass, a particular class over the summer or standardized test. Or you have your students that also wanted to maybe take some classes in advance and make up some classes or get ahead. Those rock stars there. So, students are at different spectrums when it comes down to how motivated they're going to be. So I want to encourage all of you to really, emphasize how you plan on working with students at their current grit levels, and how you plan on also being flexible and showing them some compassion. And that's where, that's like an equitable practice, like being able to say, okay, I'm going to just realize that not all of my students are in the same headspace. And I'm not going to, I'm going to be a little bit more compassionate, than I would be, maybe in March of the year. And so I really hope that all of our classrooms are going to be a place of not only belonging, but just open arms, like, hello, welcome, I'm your teacher. Like, when they see you, it should be a breath of fresh air. And that honeymoon period is wonderful, the first 2 weeks. And then everything, everything starts going all kind of ways if there's not classroom management. And so I just want to encourage you to please do what you can to help cultivate grit in students, getting to know them, building those relationships, being easy when it comes down to homework and stuff. I personally would not assign any curricular homework. Probably in the first week, I don't think I would touch it really. I think I would really focus on classroom rules and procedures and, just how we can, stick together as a unit, as like a little math family in my world. I think too, making sure that when you're establishing rules and procedures, that it should not be that when kids are looking at your rules and procedures, they're about to have a heart attack over being overwhelmed with how many rules. If you have more than 5 rules, I would definitely say, let's reconsider, see how you can, condense those down. And then, of course, I would also recommend, you have your procedures visible, and that you understand that procedures should not be something that students are being penalized for, but they should be reminded of procedures. Harry Wan talks about all that. And so I digress. I get really excited when I think about this. And I hope too that, teachers understand that, students, they're coming to you excited, nervous, and they just really want to make sure that you want them to win. And I hope that you understand that students can feel your vibe in the room. So you can have a smile on your face and be stabbing them the whole time. They'll feel it. The thing I love about Gen Zs in this generation, they are so real, genuine. You can't get anything over on them. You can say one thing, but they are vibing you out the entire time. This is a very real, raw generation, and they deserve our respect and they deserve our best. And they make phenomenal leaders. Of course, once they're convinced that, you're trustworthy and all that, they do great things for you. So just some things to keep in mind. And with that said, I do want to kind of dive into some things that I was looking at for us regarding some back to school tips and things like that. So I found this on Teachers Pay Teachers, which is Teen Essential Teaching Tips. This is by Michelle Grzyka. I think that's how I say her name. So I'm giving her all the clout here. And I just want to point out a couple things that she's talking about. 15 essential tips. First things first, she says get organized. Organize your classroom and your materials. Okay, that's really good. And then she says here, um, she wants you to create a daily routine and schedule. So managing your time well, huge, right? That's a part of my grit framework there. But managing your time well by establishing a daily routine and schedule, it can help you feel more in control and reduce stress. Plan out your day, including time for instruction, small group, and independent work. So as an educator, basically what she's saying is, as an educator, you're going to have to be intentional as to say, how much time will I teach? How much time will I give to plan or for small group work and independent work? And of course, you have to put your feelers out and see the pacing of your classroom and how your students are. Now, let's look at her next one. She says, set goals for the new year. Okay. Setting goals, it can help you stay focused and motivated throughout the year, right? And that's going to help cultivate that grit. And it's also about considering what you want to accomplish with your students. So when you set your own goals as a teacher, it really helps. And a thing I love about setting goals is, like, for instance, it like in one of our districts, we did what we called an ippy dippy, a individualized professional development plan, where you had to sit down and basically have a heart to heart with yourself as to what you wanted to see done and what resources you needed, what plans you had. I always used to bring data to the table. I think bringing data to the table is huge. And you should always aim to have at least 70% proficiency. I know some of you are like, nah, not in my school district, not in my classroom. I get it. But I think that if you're not at the place where you're dealing with that, which, I mean, listen, NAEP data showed us that, yeah, we've got some work to do nationwide. So if you are hitting at 40%, 50%, 60%, you should still have a goal to say, I want to bump it up at least maybe 10%. There should be a gain. There should be some type of desire to see gains in your students, because no matter how awesome we think we are as educators, if the proof is not in the pudding, if the data does not reveal it, no, it's still a work in progress, right? So this is why we need to make sure that we're still enforcing data. I want to encourage everyone to have data at the top of their teaching list. I also think not only data, looking at cultural relevance, looking at how can you bring other cultures into the classroom, not in a way that's dehumanizing or indoctrinating or placing class upon people and all this, in a way to just celebrate everyone that's in the space and see how can we highlight, distinguished leaders of diverse backgrounds in our classroom, so that students, one, have awareness, there's that access, and then they feel like, oh, it's a little bit engaging. Like I said, students are so different than what we were when we were growing up. We had very cut dry, very traditional textbooks, not a lot of diversity, and there surely weren't diverse authors, and there weren't diverse opportunities and diverse, places in the books. And I didn't really see any of that. I mean, I was grateful to learn, so I didn't say anything. But I think that our students now, they are so much more alive and so much more ready to tackle the world, and they know so much. So yeah, they want more of that. They want awareness. And the thing I love about the more awareness, the better when it comes down to cultural relevance, when you're talking about ethnic diverse pieces, because when students go to college, then that helps them. Or if they go into the workforce, then that can help them to understand and to have talking points and to have some relevancy, and how to connect with others. And that goes into that cross-cultural communication and that interhumanism. So I think it's imperative that we do what we can to really have that sense of cultural relevance in our curriculum and in our classrooms. In addition to that, I think, whenever you're trying to build those relationships and motivate your students, getting to know them, knowing their names, and listen, every student is going to freak out if you mispronounce their names. And our parents have gotten really creative in these days. So yes, there are going to be some names you're going to be like, huh, how do I say that? And, just using some really velvet gloves as to how to communicate with students, letting them know in advance, hey, I'm not trying to butcher your name. Please help me, to pronounce your name, and allow them to say it first. Or, you could take a stab at it and then apologize if you miss it. But just really have fun with that. And also, I would say also ask around, ask others on your campus, like what's going on and what do they know about some of the students, because they might have a history. They might have had one of their siblings and things like that. So it gets really fun. So with that said, let's go back into this relationships. There you go. Connecting with students and families, creating a positive classroom culture. There's tips for effective communication. So when you're communicating, you can consider using communication methods, including email, phone calls, or parent-teacher conferences. Please do not be afraid of your parents. Do not be afraid of your families. One thing that was a pet peeve of mine, and as a mom, I'm going to put on the mother lens now. I'm always talking about teaching. As a mommy, I cannot stand it if I don't know what's going on about my children, what's going on in the classroom, if I've never had a phone call or an email, or like, what is going on, right? We have to do the same with our parents. Again, we have to do this with the parents, with the guardians. This is not a one and all where we're just like, oh, well, we'll just handle it. If there is not a parent, I get it. So then that means you have to get a team, admin team, something, school resource officers, or school psychologists, people that know things, that are friendly, that are approachable, that want to see that student win, need to be at the table. Because it's just one of those things, like building those relationships is everything. Going out on that field, watching those students play, watching them in the court, watching them at the band practice, watching them at volleyball, whatever it is, do whatever you can to really connect with those families. And then, maybe the parent is working. Let's be flexible. Maybe we could send emails. Maybe we could be a little bit, just more lenient towards, just helping the students with, whether it's they need more time on assignments and things like that. Really got to do better at that. I think that, the more we really love our kids and we really try, we're going to see it's going to make the world of a difference in our classrooms. Think about it. What do we have to lose if all of our kids succeed? Nothing, right? So why not set them up for success? Why not help them? And you might be the one teacher that's actually doing that for them. They might have a lot going on, but you might be the one that has the opportunity to go in and make a difference. So I want to encourage you with that. Now, let's get back to this. So it's talking about making sure, of course, that you understand your students and where they are. She's talking about making things that are interesting and relevant to your students. And then she says to also make sure you're addressing student needs. Make sure that you're addressing their student individual needs. Make sure you're creating opportunities for regular, formative, and summative assessments. I want to encourage all, and then she talks about accommodations for students with special needs. I do want to also encourage all teachers to have some type of assessment on the curriculum. I would probably do it the second week or the third week. If I was a new teacher, I'd probably do it, maybe second half of the second week, because I would be doing all kinds of tests. I mean, I would love to come in and help train you guys to help you see what I'm talking about. But I would say, making sure that whenever you're giving those assessments, that you're using an actual assessment from the curriculum that you're assigned. I want to also say this. Do not be afraid of your math or whatever textbook. Again, do not be afraid of your textbook. Some teachers are like, you know what? I can't understand it. It's all this language. It's all this stuff. It's this thick, over it. And they put it to the side and they do their own thing. And they go to Teachers Pay Teachers and they're printing things offline. And they're like, I got this, or I found this on YouTube. Hey, I'm not knocking the fact that you're doing what you can, right, to get in the flow. But I do want to say to trust the experts, trust those. I mean, it's we kind of treat the textbook at times like how we treat a car manual. You buy a car from wherever and they give you this big car manual. Sometimes you don't pull it out, right? But if you do, you get that much more knowledge, right? And it really can help you. It can really guide you through what's going on with your car, how to work your car, how to understand the language. Many of us, we get a new car, we jump in it, and hey, we crank up the gas and go. We don't even know about half the features, on the dashboard, but we're just happy to have a new car. And I think that, one thing we can do different is utilizing our textbooks and really taking some time over lesson planning, over lunches, and digging through those textbooks and seeing how can we, get a head start with the support of the textbooks. I wish you guys the best with that. Because like I said, textbooks are so rich now with so much content. And I hope that, one thing you can find in your textbooks is cultural relevance. And, that you can find ways to connect with all of your students, and that you can definitely find representation in those textbooks, because the kids need to see it. They need to see it for themselves. So I wish you the best with that. And I'm sure things will flow for you. So not a big deal. So with that said, that was a lot from that article. And it just makes me think, what about in general? If you're just wanting tips for staying motivated, because we get started and we get that fresh kick at the beginning of the year. Many of you have had new positions. Congratulations. Rock it out. You've got this. Stay gritty. And some of us are being promoted. Some of us are coming into our 5th year, our 20th year. Some of us are about to retire. We're at all these different types of, places in life. So how do you stay motivated then throughout the entire school year? So I want to play a video for us.
And welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how to stay motivated throughout the school year. For a lot of people, including myself, it is easy to be motivated at the beginning of the year when everything is new and fresh. However, especially reaching the middle or the end of a semester, we tend to get tired and therefore less motivated. So I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how I work around that to stay motivated throughout the entire school year. Motivation can be explained as the reason one would initiate and maintain goal-oriented behaviors. The most commonly known are extrinsic and intrinsic motivation.
So I talked about this in my last show. So she's talking about this. And I think that this is great to know that there are different types of motivation. There's actually like 4 different pillars that we spoke about last show. But for the sake of this podcast, she's going to talk about extrinsic and intrinsic, and I'll fast.
Extrinsic motivation is when motivation comes from external factors given or controlled by others, while intrinsic motivation comes from internal factors to meet one's personal needs or for pure interest. A mixture of both can be used to help us stay motivated to study and reach our goals. However, motivation is limited. No one is motivated at all times, even if you only rely on intrinsic motivation. This is especially true when we're presented with obstacles or challenges in life, which down the tasks into smaller steps, including gathering the information.
So she told us, not everybody is always motivated, and that's why you need grit. But with that said, here's one of her things. She's talking about making a website. You can choose a template. You can publish and connect to a domain. So she's talking about different things there, and how she can stay motivated, because she was talking about goals, right? And so then let's see what she says here.
Space. First is how easy it is to set up a donation page. As I mentioned, this is for a nonprofit, so that is a big part of what we do.
And I think that's really neat. And I think, if you are an educator and you're trying to get donations for, school supplies and things like that, check out your education foundation, check out some grants, some funding that, I remember we got funding when I was in Tampa. We got funding from Kia, I think a car dealership. Thank you, Kia. It paid off. And I think they gave us whiteboards and markers and all that. And we did a little class project. And it was a lot of fun. And so that always stood out to me, so reach out to your local car dealerships, your restaurants, Chick-fil-A, all those places, Walmart, all those places, to see who has the money, who is willing to give the money, because I think it'll really be beneficial for you to not have to go in your own pocket and spend all that money. There are many people waiting, begging, ready to give money to help support you in your classroom. So remember that, and to support you on your school campus. Now, we'll continue moving forward with this.
Is being able to see in-depth analytics, such as who's visiting or how they're interacting with our content, which will be extremely useful in editing and modifying different parts of the website.
Okay, I'm
to find your study buddy, someone who shares the same goals and mindset and
I like this. So now she's saying another thing you could do to stay motivated, find a study buddy or someone to help you stay accountable. So if you are in education and you're like, I just am over this, find someone in your team or someone in the school district that you can buddy up with, whether it's every other day or in a PLC, or maybe it's away from campus. I know some schools will have it where you go out to eat on Fridays and you just hang out, you get to know people, and that makes the world of a difference. Those happy hour, those moments where you're just hanging out and getting to know people, or PLCs where you could bring food and just have a good time and talk about math or talk about whatever. I think it's imperative when you're really trying to push through, because you get that sense of community, and that you're not alone, and you have a whole team there with you, and you guys can do a lot together. So I think it's great. So
favorite motivational quotes. So hopefully this will act as your extrinsic motivation for the week.
I like that. So the next thing she says here is to find a motivational quote, and like mine's Wayne Gretzky, but she's saying find a motivational quote that will keep you motivated throughout the week. And I remember one thing we did in one of our schools was we had motivational quotes throughout the walls, splattered throughout the walls throughout the school year. It was really, really neat situation, and really helped our kids, at that turnaround school. So I know it works from personal experience, and I would highly recommend it. And I think not only motivational quotes for you as a teacher or principal, you can talk about those motivational quotes in faculty meetings. If you're an administrator, dean, whatever, you can champion an idea where you can send out motivational quotes, motivational Monday, different things like that. And then you can send out a motivational quote with like pictures and things like that to kind of get those teachers and leaders in that feel good mood. And then you guys can just kind of go from there throughout the year. So, you can have a theme of Motivational Monday. Feel free to steal it. Or you can, post things around your school, or you can bring in motivational speakers. There's so many of us that would love to come and tell a motivational story and help really motivate you guys and to get your grit pumped up for the beginning of the school year. So those are some things that you can do. And then, of course, you can have motivational quotes at the bottom of your email. That's another option. So much there for you when it comes down to really getting gritty for the new school year and staying motivated. So I hope that you were able to take some things from this podcast. And I just want everyone to win. I want everybody to have a great time this school year, to find a lot of progress. One thing she also spoke about, and I'll touch on it a little bit, is self-care. Making sure that as you are winning, you're also taking care of yourself. That means setting boundaries. That means refusing to submit to environments that are not healthy for your mental health, your emotional well-being, but that your worth, that you're loved, and that that you're irreplaceable. And so just refuse to tolerate anything that would send you down a rabbit hole. Though it's horrible to hear about people that put themselves in these abusive situations and then they just don't make it. Something tragic happens or whatever. Don't be a casualty in trying to serve others. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you have a tribe, a support group, those that love you outside of what you do, to keep you in a strong, awesome, healthy space. And remember, you are amazing before you got the job, you're amazing during the job, and you're amazing after the job. So with that said, go in there, make it happen this school year. You've got what it takes. Take grit with you. Feel free to check out my framework or one of my workbooks on my website whenever you get a chance. And let's stay connected. I would love to hear your progress throughout the year. So don't be a stranger. With that said, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. This podcast will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. You can also find it on Spotify. Check out the website, www.india-white.com, to check out one of my books, one of my 60 books, blogs, or to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. If you're needing tutoring, I'm excited to start that back up as well. So if you're a parent and you're like, I might need some tutoring, whatever, after school, let me know. Okay, I would love to serve you, and I can send you that information. Also, I want to encourage you to please follow me on social media. That helps. My Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. And YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I'll see you guys at many of these events coming up. Super excited to see you guys at the end of the month in Minnesota. I'll see you guys at NCSM, NCTM, and I know that they just put something out on social media that was really cute. We'll be there. ICTM and OCTM and ATM&E and so many other conferences, and I'm super excited about all of them. I know many of you are still reaching out to me. Thank you. Please get me on your calendar. Get on my calendar. Let's do this. All of the planning is going. All the logistics are taking place, and I'm super excited about it. And again, thank you so much, and I'm super honored to join you. I know we're going to have a blast. Thank you to all of the supporters, all of those that have been there. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And then I also wanted to remind you to check out the Grassroots Mini Workshop whenever you get a chance. Add that to your bucket list. And then, of course, just remembering the point of this podcast is if you're trying to either close the achievement gap and having classroom management issues or students aren't motivated to do the work, then join this podcast to get some tips, tools, and nuggets. So today we did talk about getting ready for the school year. And so I know that you guys are going to be able to take grit with you. You're going to be able to persevere and help your students as you're building your own grit, your own growth mindset, your own self-efficacy and whatnot, and really holding yourself accountable. So I'm super excited and I can't wait to hear the great reports. So thank you so much for joining me again on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. And until next time, stay gritty.